Hi, my name is Rasha Shaheen and this is ACM. Okay, my day-to-day role in ACM entails quite a lot of things. I teach more than one subject. I teach music culture, I've been teaching music technology, I've been involved in the music business, I've also been involved in working with dissertations, and I teach at Guildford and ACM London and at Metropolis as well, so it's quite varied. So my career in music, funnily enough, from the very beginning, I started quite late. I started at the age, I think, of 18. I grew up in Egypt and Saudi Arabia and in Bangor, North Wales, but while I was in Saudi Arabia, I never got a chance to try music. So I ended up living in Bristol and I met a band called the Moonflowers. I was always fascinated with music, and so I ended up being their merchandise person. So I went on tour with them and started learning music in the back of their van. They taught me how to play drums, and from then on I think I was addicted. I wanted to find out more. I went busking around France with them, and that's kind of where I got my initial kind of music education. I think I learned how to play the bass. I remember the guitarist exploring kind of guitar riffs and how he did that. This is pre-loop pedals, so I was his loop pedal. I would kind of like learn bass lines and just been going round and round bass lines, and he'd kind of explore guitars, and that kind of like worked. I then decided I wanted to find out some more. I did a BTEC in music technology in Weston-super-Mare. And while I was there, I formed a band, a girl band called Moose, and we started playing gigs. We went, played Glastonbury Festival, gone to BBC kind of like gigs, and played in Greece, but I was, that was my main band. But I'd always be in like 4 bands at the same time, just kind of like catching up on the music that I didn't have when I was young. While I was doing that, so I was always in this DIY scene, always interested in the DIY scene. And so to support my freedom of expression, because that was my main goal, I started teaching, and got into doing workshops with kids, and slowly, kind of as I did more music and as I did more teaching, I wanted to find out more. I was fascinated by the whole process of how music works. I then did sound engineering, I booked tours, I was a tour manager, events manager, festival kind of stage kind of curator as well. So lack of focus, but because I was fascinated by the whole thing, I decided to focus, and I did a master's in songwriting. I also did a PGCE in education, because I became obsessed with the idea of music being just being brilliant, and wanting to know how to teach it to other people. It helped you be creative, it helped you be a great thinker, it helped you be happy, and that's kind of essentially how I have ended up here. Fascinated by music, fascinated by how it makes you feel, but wanting to know how to teach it well, and here I am. I've worked with quite a few artists because of the varied roles I've had. I've worked with, I remember doing sound for a guy called Beardy Man, and I've done event management for MF Doom, and Jamie XX was part of that as well, and a band called Coco Rosie and Fortet, and loads of kind of obscure bands. I've worked with Reggie Watts as well. Now, before he was kind of quite big. I've been involved with members of the Portishead and Massive Attack, and the writers and the performers of the bands. I've been in Bristol. I've lived in Bristol for 15 years, and so kind of any of the kind of acts that are from Bristol. I remember Ronnie Styes. He produced our our first demo when we came out, and kind of quite varied. My favourite piece of hardware in the studio is the tricky one to ask, because I don't think I have one. I think I ultimately like the laptop because of its portability, and because I come from a kind of songwriting, I'm interested in the song, so So it's kind of really understanding the song and seeing what the song needs, and then working around that. So it's not the hardware, it's what's the purpose, what are we trying to go for. So moving on from that, the idea of why I like the laptop, and a piece of advice for any producer, maybe it's a piece of advice for anyone really, is like just really figuring out, I think the best bit of advice is figuring out what you're doing and why you're doing it. What's the song about? You know, does it, you know, there was a book I read by a guy called Pat Patterson. It's called Writing Better Lyrics, and he made me understand this idea of kind of like stable and unstable sections within lyrics, but actually, you know, you can then do that within your production. So if the lyrics are kind of like talking about happy, you know, a happy part, if the chorus is happy, then you need to think about what sounds and you know, support that, the emotion of that section. Yeah, always go back to the meaning of the song. Are you just kind of showing off for the sake of showing off, or are you supporting the message and the journey of the song? I really like ACM because it feels like a really vibrant place. I feel like there's a real freedom of exploration, and I can see that with you know, with the just working with the students. I like the conversation. I like that I learn from them the same way they learn from me. I like being challenged. I like them kind of introducing me to new artists, but I also love that I push them and they can handle it. You know, like I love that. Yeah, seeing them rise up to the challenge, and I think it's mainly the debate and the level of creativity. I think, yeah, I think I'm a thinker, and so I like seeing people think in the music and in their essays. I do a lot of mark essays as well, so I see kind of the thought process, and I really like that.